When Clive Walpole had nothing, it was I who supported him financially to start his business. But once he became successful, he left me behind. On his birthday, his first love, who had returned to the country, poked his chest and questioned him. "After all these years of not getting married, do you admit you still can't forget me?" Clive nodded in acknowledgement. They kissed in the corridor, ignoring everyone else around them. I silently recorded a video of it, then threw away the gift I had prepared for him. Turned around and shook hands with Clive's first love's fiancé. "Let's get engaged." Ding! webnovel reminds you to click the subscribe button in the bottom right corner to read the complete novel. For Clive's 30th birthday, I decided to celebrate it properly, so I hosted a banquet at a 5-star hotel and invited many friends. It was supposed to be a joyous occasion, but he arrived late and didn't seem very happy. After sitting down next to me, he said nothing and began drinking heavily, as if venting something. I frowned and pressed his hand. "Eat something first, your stomach isn't good." He waved his hand dismissively, his tone sharp. "I'm fine." My elbow almost knocked over the plate, and I immediately looked displeased. His childhood friend, Travis, quickly tried to smooth things over. "Erica, you rest, I'll take care of Clive." I sighed and was drawn to the engagement banquet across from us. Compared to the tense atmosphere between us, that side was much livelier. Through the microphone, the engagement ceremony's proceedings were clearly transmitted over. When the host announced the exchange of rings between the future bride and groom, Clive suddenly stood up. "I'm going to the restroom." He moved so forcefully that the chair fell backward to the floor. He was usually calm and rarely showed such intense emotions. Watching his departing figure, I tugged at the corners of my mouth, poured myself a full glass of wine, and drank it all in one go, mimicking his actions. Afterward, I also got up and went out the door. As I expected. At the end of the corridor, in the opposite direction of the restroom, Clive was leaning by the window, smoking. A step away from him stood the bride-to-be from the engagement banquet. She looked even more beautiful in person than in the giant wedding photo displayed at the hotel's entrance. Even her expression as she questioned Clive was stunningly beautiful. "Why are you here?" Clive reverted to his usual cold demeanor, flicking ash out the window. "None of your business." "None of my business? Can you honestly say it's not because of me?" I only recently found out that Clive Walpole had a childhood sweetheart. Half a month ago, I borrowed his computer to handle some work. Due to an operational error, a file got deleted. When I went to the recycle bin to retrieve it, I accidentally saw a deleted folder. Clive Walpole and Sybil Watson Forever. The name was so unique that I restored the file. It was full of photos, pictures of Clive and another girl. From when they were 7 or 8 years old to 17 or 18. The photos were old, all from before I met Clive. So I didn't know that the Clive of the past was so sunny and cheerful, with a big smile, and would playfully tug on a girl's braids. I also didn't know that his gaze could be so tender when looking at a girl. I've been dating Clive for 5 years and am quite familiar with his circle of friends, but I've never heard the name Sybil Watson. Next, I checked the file modification history. I found that this long dormant folder had recently been frequently deleted, restored, deleted again, and restored again. Connecting this to his recent occasional distraction and preoccupied behavior. My woman's intuition told me that this person who had disappeared from his life for a long time had reappeared. And she could still stir his emotions. After restoring the file to its original state, I immediately contacted Clive's childhood friend, Travis. Under my threats and bribes, he told me that Sybil Watson was Clive's first love, and they had a very good relationship. Especially Clive, he treated her like a treasure. But in their senior year of high school, Clive's family went bankrupt, and Sybil immediately broke up with him and went abroad. In other words, Clive was dumped. He was deeply affected by it and was down for quite a while. After finishing, Travis asked me in confusion, "Erica, how do you know about Sybil? Since she left Clive and went abroad, we never dared to mention her again." I looked at him with a half-smile. "She came back, didn't you know?" Actually, I wasn't sure, but from his suddenly wide-eyed reaction, I guessed I was right. Since he knew, Clive couldn't have missed the news either. And most likely, they had secretly reconnected behind my back. Travis hurried to explain on Clive's behalf. "Erica, don't misunderstand. Sybil broke up with Clive during his hardest time. Clive would never forgive her or get involved with her again. Really? I don't think so. Sybil guessed it right. Clive came here because of her. I realized it when I saw the huge photo at the hotel entrance. Otherwise, I couldn't explain why a person who never cared about trivial matters, and even asked me which tie to wear when going out, would insist on coming to this hotel when I suggested throwing him a birthday party. It was because he not only knew his ex-girlfriend's whereabouts but also knew she was getting engaged here. Sybil was very confident. Clive, you still love me, don't you? Heh. Clive laughed mockingly. Don't you think it's ridiculous to ask that? You're about to get married, and I also have a girlfriend. Sybil nonchalantly pouted. My fiancé was chosen by my parents. I don't even like him. As long as you admit you still have feelings for me, I can call off the engagement anytime. As for your girlfriend, her tone became even more arrogant. You don't really like her that much, do you? Otherwise, why haven't you married her yet? According to Travis, you two have been dating for 5 years. Back when we just turned 18, you said you would marry me once we were old enough. After saying that, Sybil moved closer to him, her whole body almost pressing against his, her finger lightly tapping his chest, her eyes seductive. Admit it, Clive, you can't forget me here. Her words hit the mark, and Clive's chest heaved violently. He pushed her away, his eyes sharp enough to pierce her. Why would I remember a heartless woman? Sybil staggered back a few steps, her expression changing. Do you think I wanted to? I was so young then, my parents forced me to break up with you. What could I do? Do you know, when I was first taken abroad, I nearly died in the hospital from starving myself. Tears welled up in her eyes, hanging on her lashes, stubbornly refusing to fall. She looked truly pitiful. Clive's expression shifted repeatedly, yet he stayed where he was, seemingly caught in an internal struggle. Sybil couldn't wait any longer. She suddenly stepped forward, wrapped her arms around Clive's neck, and kissed him. When Clive returned, it was just in time for the cake cutting. On the surface of the dark chocolate-covered cake were stick figures of him and me and our initials. I had specifically requested the pastry chef to make it this way. I had personally gone over the entire banquet hall's decorations and the guest list. The more effort I put in back then, the more ridiculous it seemed now. Travis called out to him, Clive, where did you go? Come and make a wish. Clive was pushed to the center. Probably still lingering in the emotions of rekindling his old flame with Sybil, he closed his eyes symbolically and then impatiently blew out the candles in one go. Travis patted his shoulder and then craned his neck to ask me, Erica, what gift did you prepare for Clive? For a moment, I became the focus of everyone, including Clive. His eyes were still cold. He had always been like this towards me, even in moments of passion. I thought he was just born this way. Turns out, he wasn't. I put down my phone, propped my head up, and asked him, Do you want to see the gift I prepared for you? He loosened his tie with one hand and spat out 2 words, whatever. My eyes caught sight of the red mark on his shirt collar, and I smiled. I really put my heart into it. Take a look. Without waiting for his response, I opened my phone under the expectant and curious gazes of everyone. The next second, the banquet hall's screen lit up. The footage of him and Sybil Watson kissing in the hallway played like a short film on the big screen, incredibly clear. Everyone was stunned, looking at each other in shock, not daring to speak. In this eerie atmosphere, I walked up to Clive and said word by word, Let's break up. I don't want you anymore. Erica Loris, you'd better give me a reasonable explanation. Clive pulled me out of the hotel with a grim face. When we got home, he didn't even take off his shoes before demanding an explanation from me. He really seemed furious. My mood, however, had improved, and I leisurely walked to the sofa and sat down. Explain what? Sorry for bumping into your cheating ex-girlfriend? Or should I have been more sensible, pretended not to see anything, and then automatically backed off to make room for your first love? He frowned. I never said I wanted to break up with you. Ha. I was so angry I laughed. The way he said it, it was like he was doing me a huge favor. Even if he rekindled his old flame, he could still leave a spot for me. How cheap must I be in his heart? Well, I was really good to him. For 5 years, I helped him start his business and took care of his life. Even though he wasn't as considerate as other men and never tried to make me happy, I never complained. Loving him to this extent, of course, I had to let him have his way. Too bad he misjudged me. I took out a car key from my bag with a talisman hanging on it. This was the gift I had originally prepared for him. The talisman was something I had painstakingly sought from a temple. I tore it off and threw it into the trash can. Clive Walpole, you're too confident. Do you really think I, Erica Loris, can't live without you? Do you think that after discovering your affair, I would beg you not to abandon me? To tell you the truth, if I had known you had such a past, I wouldn't have been with you from the start. Between Clive and me, it was he who took the initiative. During the summer vacation of my sophomore year, I interned at my dad's company and met Clive. He had just graduated and was preparing to start his own business, seeking investment from my dad. In the scorching heat, he wore a shirt and waited under the sun for a long time. When we came out of the restaurant, he suddenly stepped forward and took a business plan out of his bag. Mr. Loris, I'm sorry to bother you, but I hope you can take a look. This project is absolutely. Before he could finish, my dad got into the car. On the way, he told me that people came to him for investment every day. Most of these young people were overly ambitious, driven by passion, and gave up after a few setbacks. It wasn't worth wasting time on them. But he changed his tone. This young man is a bit interesting. I've already rejected him a few times, and he still hasn't given up. Sure enough, a few days later, I saw him again outside my dad's company. Still in a white shirt and black pants, standing there straight, standing out from the crowd, very eye-catching. I walked up to him. Clive Walpole, I'll invest in you. He was a bit surprised. You know me? Of course, we go to the same college. I knew he was excellent, always top of his class for 4 years, and had won several prestigious awards. So at first, I was really just optimistic about his prospects and approached him with the aim of making money. But feelings are strange like that. They can change in an instant. That moment between Clive and me happened on my graduation day. I was the outstanding graduate of the year, and he was invited back to the college as an honorary alumnus. We ended up standing on the stage together. Amid the thunderous applause from the audience, we looked at each other. His deep eyes made my heart skip a beat. In that atmosphere, a thought suddenly popped into my mind. If he could be involved in every important moment of my life, it wouldn't be so bad. I think I fell in love with him. The feelings accumulated over 2 years of intermittent contact converged at that moment, overwhelming me. But I did nothing. With the interests involved between us, the simpler the relationship, the closer the cooperation. This was something my dad had told me when I was young. I began a year-long crush, and Clive probably noticed it. At the company's year-end party, he drank quite a bit. I took him home, and as I was about to leave, he grabbed my hand. Erica, do you like me? In the dim light, his eyes were as bright as obsidian, gripping me tightly, and I couldn't tell if he was sober or drunk. I remained calm. So what if I do? Heh. He chuckled and pulled me forcefully, making me fall onto him. As long as you like me. As soon as he finished speaking, his hot lips pressed against mine, and my rationality flew out the window. What interests? What cooperation? All of it could go to hell. Now, I just wanted to have a romance with this man. When it comes to relationships, my attitude is either don't start or give it your all. In the years I was with Clive, I almost gave him my heart on a silver platter. Unfortunately, my sincerity seemed worthless to him. Since that's the case, I decided to take it back. The day after we broke up, I moved out of Clive's house. He stood by watching me direct the movers. After one night, he had reverted back to his usual cold and self-contained self. You don't need to. Of course, it's necessary. I interrupted him. If we're breaking up, let's do it cleanly. I don't have a habit of entangling with exes. His jaw tightened, but in the end, he said nothing and went back to his study, closing the door. As expected, his outburst last night was just because I had tarnished his first love's reputation. I turned and threw our photos into the trash, then directed the workers to load the boxes into the car. Just one trunk. After living together for years, I realized I had surprisingly few belongings. Perhaps, subconsciously, I had already sensed that this relationship wouldn't last. Clive got together with Sybil Watson. One just broke up, the other called off an engagement. They couldn't wait to share their happiness with the world. Clive arranged for Sybil to join the company as his personal assistant. In front of our colleagues, Sybil walked up to me. "Ms. Loris, Clive let me join the company. I hope it doesn't upset you?" This was our first direct confrontation. It was obvious she harbored animosity towards me. In fact, after the breakup, I had thought about it. Between Sybil and me, Clive would undoubtedly choose Sybil without hesitation. It wasn't surprising at all. Sybil was the first mark on the blank canvas of his emotions. And in his lowest moments, she had cruelly stabbed him in the heart. Such intense love, mixed with intense hate. How could it be easily forgotten? In comparison, I seemed shallow. Although I helped him when he was down, it wasn't a rescue. When I met Clive, his family had been bankrupt for years, and he had already come to terms with the drastic drop in his living standards. To him, I was merely an investor. The project succeeded, he made me money, and we were even. Even our relationship was something two adults started after weighing the pros and cons. Of course, it couldn't compare to the reckless purity of youth. So I made peace with it and planned to get along with them amicably. The love was gone, but the career was still there. Why not make money together? But some people just couldn't resist stirring up trouble. Sybil's position was Clive's assistant, but she acted with the authority of a hostess. Within just a week of joining the company, she wanted to fire Clive's executive assistant. Phoebe was someone I had recommended to Clive. She was our junior in college, very capable, and I had recruited her right after graduation. She had never made any mistakes at work. I had promised her that as long as I was in the company, no one would dare to bully her. When I went to Clive to demand an explanation, Sybil was also in his office. "Clive, I heard this restaurant is really good. Let's go there after work." Clive didn't even look up, "You decide." Sybil was unhappy. She grabbed his hand and sat on his lap. "Are you annoyed with me? You're not even looking at me." Clive sighed. "Sybil, I'm working." "I don't care." She wrapped her arms around Clive's neck, her red lips slightly parted, moving closer to him. Just as they were about to kiss, I pushed the door open and entered. "Mr. Walpole, we need to talk." Sybil jumped up. "How rude of you. Don't you know how to knock? Leave, we need to discuss business." "Who are you to order me around? I'm your superior." "You." She turned to Clive for help. "Clive, look at her." "Sybil, please leave first." Reluctantly, Sybil left. Clive adjusted his clothes and poured me a cup of coffee. "Please sit." I stood where I was. "Why are you firing Phoebe?" "She was negligent at work." "I hope by negligence you don't mean she refused to run errands for your girlfriend to buy a bag." Phoebe had told me that Sybil didn't like her being close to Clive and assigned her menial tasks. Once, after work, she had to travel half the city just to bring Sybil a drink while she was getting a facial. Clive raised an eyebrow indifferently. Part of the executive assistant's duties includes taking care of the superior's life. I think that's well known. As for whom to take care of, whether it's me or Sybil, it makes no difference. I frowned so hard I could crush an ant, barely believing these words were coming from Clive's mouth. He had never been one to mix business with personal matters. Now, for Sybil Watson, he was abandoning his principles? Phoebe was still squeezed out by Sybil. I personally escorted her out of the company. While waiting for the car, she held her packing box, hesitant to speak but couldn't hold back. "Erica, you need to be careful." I caught the flash in her eyes, understanding her meaning. Sybil wasn't just a pretty face. She seemed to be making things difficult for Phoebe, but in reality, she was targeting me. Everyone in the company knew that although Phoebe was Clive's executive assistant, she was closest to me. They assumed Phoebe was my plant to keep an eye on Clive's every move. So it was no surprise that Sybil wanted to get rid of Phoebe. I guess she would next suppress everyone close to me until she stripped me of my power and drove me out of the company. And she was doing all this because Clive supported her. It was all my own doing. Over the years, as the company developed, the organizational structure kept changing. And I had previously thought there was no need to bicker too much between lovers. Clive's influence had surpassed mine. I took a deep breath, suppressing the anger in my heart. Since I had loved recklessly back then, I naturally had to bear the consequences now. Of course, I wasn't so incapable that I couldn't even keep Phoebe. But a head-on confrontation was the most foolish approach. I patted Phoebe's shoulder. Go home and rest for a few days, consider it a vacation. I promise I'll get you back soon. Whoever creates the most value holds the most power. This saying holds true everywhere. I went to find Adrian Harris, the only son of the Sky C Group. Sky C was wealthy and influential, a sought-after partner in the industry. For the past 2 years, Clive had never stopped trying to contact them. But for some reason, the collaboration had never been finalized, reportedly because Adrian Harris was blocking it. I needed to have a good talk with him. This young master was also a legendary figure in the circle. He was very capable at work and loved to play, regularly inviting a bunch of friends for gatherings every month. Coincidentally, I had an invitation. This time it was a pool party. When I arrived, I saw men and women dressed lightly, playing and chasing around the pool, making it very lively. Adrian wasn't participating, he was playing on his phone under a sun umbrella. I walked up to him. Mr. Harris, do you have a moment? He lifted his eyelids and glanced at me. Without thinking, he replied, no. What would make you have time? Swim a lap. Simple. Without another word, I took off my outer clothes and shoes and dove into the water. After a quick lap, I emerged in front of him, wiping the water off my eyelashes. Do you have time now? He finally put away his deadpan expression, set down his phone, and looked at me with a faint smile. Erica Loris, you really haven't changed a bit, still so ruthless. That long-lost address brought back memories. Speaking of which, Adrian and I had a bit of a history. In high school, we attended the same school. He was a notorious playboy, dating all the pretty girls in school, and then he set his sights on me, sticking to me like glue. Eventually, I got fed up. When he thought he was being very suave by preparing a grand confession for me in front of a crowd, I picked up a megaphone and said, word by word, I don't like you, not at all, stay away from me. I still remember how his face turned black as if he had just returned from a vacation in Africa. Of course, the effect was significant. From then until today, he hadn't spoken to me again. Given that, why did I think he would cooperate with me? I guess I should thank Sybil Watson. Because the person she ran away from was Adrian, her ex-fiancé. Life is just one mess after another. As the old saying goes, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. I figured Adrian would want to make Clive uncomfortable even more than I did. In the hotel room, I was wrapped in a towel, my wet hair hanging loose. As I took out the project proposal I had stayed up all night working on and explained it to Adrian line by line. He leaned back on the sofa, swirling his wine glass, and suddenly spoke up. I heard your ex-boyfriend cheated on you? Yes, with your fiancé, at your engagement party. I even have a video. Want to see it? No need. By the way, just to correct you, she's my ex-fiancé. His tone was calm and indifferent, looking as if he didn't care at all. I closed the project proposal. Mr. Harris, do you have any comments on the contract? No comments. It's very thorough. I can work with you, but I have one condition. Please go ahead, Mr. Harris. He took a sip of wine, looked at me meaningfully, and said, get engaged to me. My forehead twitched, and I asked with a blank face, are you serious? He nodded. Very serious. I felt a headache coming on. Why? Before coming here, I had guessed it wouldn't be that smooth, but I hadn't expected him to make such a request. Of course, I wouldn't be narcissistic enough to think he was still hung up on me. Adrian was different from Clive. He treated emotions as a game and didn't have the perseverance to remember a woman for 10 years. He chuckled. Because I hold grudges. Marrying you would allow me to torment you as much as I want. My headache turned into speechlessness. I hadn't read many domineering CEO novels, but I couldn't come up with such lines. But since he could joke about what happened back then, it meant the grudges from our youth had been resolved. I laughed and replied, "Mr. Harris, don't forget, we live in a society governed by law." He raised an eyebrow. "So, does that mean you agree?" I didn't say anything, just looked at him until his expression became serious. "I need a fiancé." What he meant was, if not Sybil Watson, it would be someone else. Thinking about it for a moment, I understood. I had long heard that the Harris family patriarch was dissatisfied with Adrian's playboy lifestyle, and had said that as long as he didn't get married, he wouldn't be allowed to take over the Sky Sea Group. It seemed the rumors were true. I began to seriously consider it. Adrian had a good figure and looked good, and his family was wealthy. Marrying him wouldn't be a loss. Besides, in our circle, when you reach a certain age, finding a well-matched partner for a marriage of convenience is the best choice. I had already proven through personal experience that true love isn't as stable as mutual benefits. Since that's the case, why not return to reality? But, thinking about how both men around me had connections to Sybil, I still felt a bit uncomfortable. What if he turned into another Clive Walpole? Wouldn't the risk be too great? Adrian saw my hesitation and immediately threw out a bait. "I'll add 2 more points to the contract price." Deal. Holding the contract signed with Adrian Harris, I called back Phoebe and promoted her to the position of marketing manager. Clive didn't object to this, but his face didn't look too good. After the meeting, he sent the others away and asked me seriously, "You're getting engaged to Adrian Harris?" "Yes." "Why?" "It's suitable." He ruffled his hair in frustration. "Erica, don't ruin your life just to get back at me." I felt a mix of emotions. I didn't know whether to laugh at his overconfidence or thank him for his concern. After all these years, my kindness to him hadn't been entirely in vain. After thinking for a moment, I told him, "Relax, you don't have that much influence." Besides Clive, Sybil's reaction was also noteworthy. In the break room, she stormed up to me. "Erica Loris, do you like picking up things I don't want that much?" First Clive, now Adrian. "Do you have to be involved with every man I've dated?" Her eyes were wide open, and she was breathing heavily, as if I were the one stealing her boyfriend. I had heard from Travis that she had a princess syndrome, wanting the whole world to revolve around her. The kind who would rather destroy what she didn't want than leave it for others. It seemed she hadn't been wronged. Didn't Miss Watson break off the engagement herself? What, do you want Adrian to remain celibate for you? Why don't you ask him first if he's willing? Are you reacting so strongly because you regret being with Clive? Of course not. Her expression was a bit guilty. Yes, how could she have the nerve to regret it? Clive treated her extremely well, gifting her villas and luxury goods, giving her shares, even supporting her father's investments with his own money. His love-struck behavior surpassed even what I had been through. What more could she be dissatisfied with? Ignoring her, I had a lot to do. Not to mention the company affairs, the engagement with Adrian was also on the agenda. The drama of his ex-fiancée running off with someone else hadn't even ended, and he was already planning another grand engagement banquet. I needed to come up with a flawless explanation to deal with people's speculations. There were many things waiting for me to handle. I didn't have time to waste on her. But Sybil didn't understand human language. While I was trying on engagement dresses with Adrian, she walked into the same store, arm in arm with Clive. "You guys are here to try on wedding dresses too?" What a coincidence. No one responded. She leaned her head on Clive's shoulder, looking sweet, and said, "Clive and I are also getting married." As she said this, she looked at Adrian. Unfortunately, the young master was busy enjoying his drink on the sofa and didn't even spare a glance. So, Sybil turned to look at me. "Why don't we do it together?" I can't decide which one to choose. "Erica, can you help me?" "Erica?" I have to say, I really admire Sybil Watson. Even though she would love to stab me twice behind my back, she can still act like we're best friends on the surface. I ignored her and took my dress to the fitting room. When I came out, she was standing outside with her arms crossed, looking at my dress with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Erica, did you know that I also chose my engagement dress with Adrian at the store?" I was getting a bit annoyed. "So what, did you put your name on the store so no one else can come?" "Not at all, I just thought that when Adrian brought you here, he must have remembered me. He personally helped me pick out my engagement dress back then. And you know what, his parents really like me." "You haven't met them yet, right? Do you want me to give you some tips? It seems she's not only a princess but also delusional." I don't want to have anything to do with her, so I walked away. "I'm not finished, don't leave." She tried to grab me. "You're so annoying." I swung my hand back, and she stumbled a few steps, knocking over a mannequin in the display area. Then, my foot got smashed. "Damn it! Our deal is off." My right foot's little toe was fractured, and I would be immobilized for some time. After getting bandaged at the hospital, I spoke angrily. Adrian, who was about to help me into the car, paused, and his tone was helpless. "My dear, it wasn't me who hurt you, why are you blaming me?" "It wasn't you, but it was because of you." The pain from my injury kept throbbing, and in the end, this person in front of me was also to blame. Seeing him made me angry, so I didn't care about the consequences and took out my phone to call my family's driver. But he snatched it away. Adrian coaxed me like a child. "I'm sorry, it's my fault." "I apologize." "What do you want?" "I'll compensate you." "Compensate?" I said angrily, "Then you break a bone too." He raised an eyebrow. "Are you serious?" I remained silent. "All right." Then he glanced inside the car, grabbed the thermos from the armrest box, placed his left hand on the car body, and raised the cup with his right hand, aiming at his index finger. "You're crazy." I angrily grabbed his hand. Even though I knew he was just acting, at least his attitude was sincere. I was acting on impulse anyway. As my anger gradually subsided and I calmed down, I asked him, "What's the deal with you and Sybil Watson?" Although Sybil broke off the engagement with Adrian for Clive, after these two encounters, I felt that her feelings for Adrian were not just possessiveness. It seemed more like unwillingness and jealousy. Adrian raised an eyebrow. "I thought you would never ask." "If it weren't for today's incident, I wouldn't have asked. It's normal to have exes, but since she's affecting me now, I need to understand clearly. This is called risk avoidance." He shrugged his mouth but still told me. "We met through a blind date. I only saw her a few times. She was very good at pleasing my parents. I got tired of being pressured, so I agreed to the engagement. Later, she broke it off." It sounded like a simple story. "Is it really that simple?" "It's that simple." Adrian looked completely honest. "But this was different from what I heard Sybil tell Clive. Anne, from what you said, she was willing to marry you. So why did she break off the engagement and run off with someone else?" Adrian shrugged. "Who knows, isn't it said that a woman's heart is like a needle at the bottom of the sea?" He touched his nose. "This guy is hiding something from me." Adrian had many unusual behaviors. He seemed to have suddenly changed, becoming extremely considerate towards me. The doctor said it was best not to strain the injury and advised me to rest at home. Knowing that my parents were on vacation abroad and I was living alone, Adrian brought his family's maid over. "You can't move around conveniently now, Camille will take care of you." The kind-faced middle-aged woman smiled at me. Behind her stood two more people, acting as labor, carrying large bags. I glanced at them, fresh ingredients and nutritional supplements. There were all sorts of things. Were they planning to open a supermarket at my place? And that wasn't all. Adrian also personally acted as my bodyguard, staying at my house whenever he had time, hovering around me like a surveillance camera. He wouldn't let me carry heavy things or walk around too much. Even when I went to the bathroom, he insisted on helping me. I was speechless. "I'm injured, not disabled." "You don't have to be so exaggerated. Go do what you need to do. If you want to go on a date, go on a date." His hand, which was lightly holding my arm, tightened, sending a chill down my spine. I looked up. His eyes narrowed slightly, exuding a dangerous aura. "Miss Loris, What do you take me for? Do you think I would mess around with other women when I have a fiancé? Huh? So he actually had principles? When I chose to cooperate with him initially, I was prepared for us to live our own lives after marriage. Are you planning to find a pretty boy after marrying me? No, I wouldn't. Good. After saying that, he suddenly cupped my face and planted a kiss on my forehead. I was completely stunned. When I came back to my senses, I quickly pushed him away and darted into the bathroom, closing the door behind me. The warm and soft touch on my forehead lingered as I stared at myself in the mirror, lost in thought. To be honest, after spending time with Adrian, I had a much better impression of him. Not only was he serious about his work, but he also didn't seem to be as restless as I had imagined. As long as he wasn't working overtime, he would come to my house on time to have dinner with me. After dinner, he wouldn't rush to leave either handling work on his computer or watching movies with me. Moreover, he was completely different from Clive. His personality was arrogant yet straightforward, saying whatever was on his mind and never sulking. I didn't have to cater to his emotions like I did with Clive. As a result, it was quite easy to get along with him. I even thought that this business marriage might be better than I had imagined. But I wasn't prepared to fall in love with him. After all, having already learned from Clive, I didn't want to suffer again. I felt I needed to calm down. So, while Adrian went back to the company to handle some matters, I called Phoebe to pick me up. Work could help clear my mind. I was busy in the office for most of the day until the ringing phone brought me back to reality. I looked up and saw that it was already dark outside. Adrian said he was on his way to pick me up. No need. Camille has already made dinner, including your favorite squirrel fish. My stomach growled in response, as if on cue. I couldn't help but swallow. Honestly, Camille's cooking was really delicious, comparable to a 5-star hotel chef. Over this period, she had spoiled my taste buds, and my weight had shot up. I was torn. Should I stay rational or satisfy my appetite? Forget it, I gave up struggling. What could he do, eat me? Hanging up the phone, I eagerly packed up my things and prepared to wait for Adrian in the parking lot. As soon as I stepped out of the office, I saw Clive. He was leaning against my assistant's desk, tapping his fingers rhythmically. It was his habit when he was upset. I didn't greet him and limped past him. I'll drive you. No need, someone is coming to pick me up. He didn't say anything else, slowed his pace, and automatically followed me. We entered the elevator one after the other. The reflective metal doors showed our figures clearly. After a moment of silence, I spoke first. Mr. Walpole, you're getting married. Is this appropriate? Since entering the elevator, he had been staring at me, his gaze so intense it was impossible to ignore. Why hadn't I noticed before that he had this habit of watching people from behind? I won't marry her. What? I won't marry Sybil Watson. He repeated, looking very serious. It was quite surprising. But this was Clive, always unpredictable. In the past, I would have been troubled by this, trying all sorts of ways to get into his heart. But now, I realized I could change my attitude. What does it have to do with me? His face suddenly stiffened, and his eyes showed a hint of helplessness as he stared at me. As the elevator neared the ground floor, he suddenly bent down and rested his head on my shoulder. Erica, I love you. Please wait for me, okay? My instincts told me that Clive was acting strange. It didn't take long for the answer to reveal itself. Sybil Watson's family was in trouble. Her father had invested in a shady business and was reported, leading to his arrest on the spot. The Watson family company was also implicated. The Watsons were facing bankruptcy, and Sybil sought Clive's help. The outcome was unexpected for everyone. Not only did Clive refuse to help, but he also demanded immediate repayment of the money he had previously lent her father, as well as the luxurious villa he had gifted her. He turned his back on her with lightning speed. Phoebe told me that Sybil was stunned and caused a scene at the company, only to be dragged out by security that Clive had called, losing a shoe in the process. Phoebe asked me, Erica, what do you think Mr. Walpole means by this? The drastic change was baffling to anyone. I hung up the phone. Today was my first visit to Adrian's home, having dinner with his parents. Sybil was right. Mr. and Mrs. Harris were very hospitable, with a sense of urgency as if they feared their son would remain single forever, thus treating every girl who came to their home with utmost care. When I was about to leave, Mrs. Harris gave me a jade bracelet. Judging by its quality, it was quite valuable. I declined, but she held my hand and insisted, saying I was the first girl Adrian had ever brought home, making me special. On the way back, I held the jewelry box in deep thought. Adrian asked me, "What are you thinking about?" Sybil's father was reported. He kept his eyes on the road, replying nonchalantly, "Yeah, I did that." "What?" I almost dropped the jade bracelet. "I thought it was Clive." "She's caused you trouble several times, hasn't she?" "Since she has so much free time, I thought I'd give her something to do." Hearing this from Adrian was shocking yet somehow expected. Back in school, I noticed that Adrian had a major trait: he was very protective. Anyone he considered his own was never to be bullied. However, I still explained to him that I didn't hold grudges against Sybil, not because I had a good temper. It was because I truly didn't care. The biggest issue between Clive and me wasn't her. Adrian nodded. "From now on, I'll discuss anything related to you with you in advance." Wow. The promise he made so casually was something I had always wanted from Clive but never received. I pressed my hand to my chest, trying to shift my focus. "You really hit hard. Sybil's dad probably won't recover from this." At a red light, Adrian turned to me and said softly, "The harshest one is still your ex-boyfriend. He spent money to set up the scheme and then struck hard." Who can beat that? Adrian was right. Clive was truly ruthless. He made everyone believe he was madly in love with Sybil Watson. However, all the talk about childhood sweethearts and never forgetting her was a lie. It was all for revenge. Marcus Watson deceived my father into investing first, then took the money and fled abroad, driving my father to commit suicide by jumping off a building. And my mother died of depression. Today, I repaid him in the same way, which makes us even. As for Sybil Watson, she's too stupid. How could she think I would be hung up on a cold-hearted and ruthless woman? After the dust settled, Clive came to see me. He was disheveled, his hair messy, and reeked of alcohol. But for the first time in a long time, he opened up to me about his parents. I had long noticed that Clive had a black hole in his heart. On the surface, he appeared calm and composed, handling everything with ease. But when it came to emotions, he had a habit of building a protective mechanism, avoiding investment and obsession to prevent getting hurt. There was always a barrier between us. I thought it was probably due to the massive family upheaval he experienced in his youth. Travis once secretly told me that when his family first went bankrupt, Clive knelt in front of someone's house for a day and a night to borrow money to pay off debts. People came and went, pointing and talking, completely destroying his self-esteem. I sympathized with him. I also tried to heal him, secretly seeking help from a psychologist. The doctor told me to give him love, lots and lots of love. I did exactly that, unreservedly, but the results were minimal. 5 years is a long time, and honestly, it was exhausting. If Sybil had not appeared, I might have continued to persist. But it was because of her that I realized everything I did was meaningless. Desire is endless, and I couldn't fill the black hole in him. No one could heal him except himself. "Erica, it's all over. I used to make you suffer. Give me a chance to make it up to you, okay? I promise to treat you well for the rest of my life." Clive took out a small red velvet box from his pocket, knelt on one knee in front of me. And the huge diamond ring sparkled brilliantly under the light. He was proposing to me. I had fantasized about this scene. At that time, I thought that when this day came, I would be so happy that I would go crazy, eager to tell the whole world that I was the happiest person. But now, I felt no emotion at all. Leaning on the sofa, with my left hand supporting my chin and my right hand playing with the blooming camellia on the coffee table, I said blandly, "You forgot, we already broke up, and I am already engaged. You can't possibly really like him." I snorted coldly. "Are you sure you know me? So what color do I like? What do I love to eat? What do I avoid eating? Which movie do I watch most often? Do I like hiking or going to sea?" His brows furrowed into a line, unable to answer any of them. How ridiculous. Even if he had put in a little effort back then, it wouldn't have come to this. I'm sorry. Fine beads of sweat oozed from Clive's forehead. His palms clenched tightly, seemingly using all his strength just to hold up that diamond ring. I can change, as long as you give me another chance. Why should I give you a chance? I raised my voice. How could he easily say this, as if those 5 years of neglect could be wiped away with a single stroke? Clive, I'm not your mother. I have no obligation to bear your regrets, nor do I have an unlimited obligation to tolerate you. If you have any conscience left, never disturb me again. The diamond ring was still dazzlingly bright, but the more it shone, the more ridiculous Clive's actions seemed. I looked at him coldly until he finally dropped his hand in defeat. Clive left. I slumped on the sofa, my head throbbing from the earlier excitement. Adrian sent a text message, "Are you ready? I'm waiting for you downstairs." I came to my senses, remembering that today my parents were returning to the country, and I had arranged to go to the airport with Adrian to pick them up. After washing my face with cold water, I pulled myself together and went downstairs. Halfway there, Adrian stopped the car to refuel and asked me to help find his wallet. As I rummaged through the car, an A4-sized document envelope fell at my feet, and a photo of Sybil Watson slipped out. Curiosity got the better of me, and I opened the envelope. It was Sybil Watson, in intimate and explicit photos with several men. Different skin colors, different ages. Sigh, you found it. Adrian poked his head through the car window. I should have destroyed them earlier. I waved the photos in my hand. This is the real reason she broke off the engagement, isn't it? You threatened her with these? He shrugged, admitting it. She had a wild time abroad. I said if these photos got out, not only would my parents oppose it, but she wouldn't have a chance to catch a rich husband. I asked you before, why didn't you tell me? Afraid you'd tell your ex, and if you got back together, where would that leave me? There was a hint of bitterness in his tone, and the anger Clive had caused me dissipated completely. I took his hand proactively. Let's go, my parents are waiting. They can't wait to meet you. The past cannot be pursued, but the future is still promising.